My childhood friend is having a baby with my best friend, and I'm not even invited to the party. My name's Leo Vance, a programmer who literally coded himself into an early grave. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself reincarnated as the tragic hero of a trashy romance novel. I was now inside the body of Ethan Thorne, the ultimate pushover who got drained of both his heart and his wallet by his childhood crush, Sophia Hayes, and his so-called best friend, Caleb Reed. The original Ethan was such a doormat. He died without ever fighting back, without even thinking about revenge. That's not me. This body is mine now. Sophia just had Caleb's baby and she thinks she can hide it from me while planning their wedding. Wait, hold on. Turns out I was never actually dating Sophia. So technically she didn't cheat on me. In that case, forget it. No, screw that. From now on, I only have 3 priorities in life. Make money, and guess what, make even more money. But right when I was about to short the Hayes Corporation into oblivion, something stopped me. What do you mean the baby isn't Caleb's? What kind of insane plot twist is this? I stared at my phone screen. August 14th, 2023. 11:14 a.m. My head pounded as I looked. Up at a woman in the hospital room, cradling a newborn. Just 3 minutes ago, I was still a programmer, pulling yet another all-nighter debt on my keyboard after a 72-hour coding marathon. The next thing I knew, I was standing in a hospital hallway, clutching a freshly printed medical report, while voices echoed in my ears. Sophia, you can't just block all news of this. What happens when Ethan comes back? He'll find out, let him. If he finds out, I'll explain everything. I'm just worried he'll make a scene if it happens too suddenly. I glanced down at the name on the medical report, Ethan Thorne. A flood of memories that weren't mine came crashing into my head. I'd been reincarnated straight into the novel I skimmed before passing out last night. 10 years of blind devotion, tossed away like garbage. I was the male led betrayed by the main heroine, Sophia Hayes, and my best friend, Caleb Reed. And worse. The original Ethan was a pathetic, weak-willed crybaby. Oh, for fuck's sake, I muttered, earning a glare from the nurse's station. The story was simple. Ethan Thorne had been taken in by the Hayes family at age 10, secretly in love with their daughter, Sophia, for a decade. A year ago, she convinced him to study abroad, promising they'd be together when he returned. But the moment he got on that plane, she jumped into bed with Caleb. Now they had a baby. I rubbed my temples as the memory settled. The worst part? The original ending. After finding out the truth, Ethan just walked away quietly, eventually dying of depression. Meanwhile, Sophia and Caleb inherited the Hayes Corporation and lived happily ever after. Seriously? You're telling me he felt betrayed by that? She wasn't even his girlfriend. She didn't like him, so she dated someone else. That's not betrayal, that's just rejection. What kind of pathetic protagonist cries over that, stretching out my new limbs? I caught sight of a note scribbled on the back of the medical report. Suspected malignant stomach tumor. Further testing recommended. I almost laughed. So he stressed himself into cancer? Pathetic. Whatever. It's just suspected. I can deal with it. Just then, the hospital room door swung open. A heavily made-up woman walked out and froze when she saw me. Ethan, when did you get back? From my new memories, I knew this was Sophia's best friend, Chloe. I waved the medical report casually. Just landed. Came to the hospital because I had a bit of a fever. I deliberately peered into the room. Is Sophia in there? Is she sick? Chloe panicked and quickly blocked the doorway. No, nothing like that. Just a routine checkup. Through the crack, I caught sight of a woman in a hospital gown holding a tiny, wrinkled infant. Beside her stood a man in a suit, carefully mixing formula. One glance at his face, and I recognized him immediately. Caleb, of course. Classic cliché. No one noticed she was pregnant until she popped out the baby. Unreal. Pretending not to see them, I put on a worried look. Well, I should at least go in and say hi. Don't. Chloe grabbed my arm nervously. She's, having a gynecological exam? It's not a good time. I smirked inwardly, but nodded like I was being obedient. Okay, then please tell Sophia I said hello. As I turned to leave, I caught a hushed voice from inside the room. Is he gone? Don't let him find out I had the baby. Outside, the August sun was blistering. I sat on the edge of a planter, pulling out a wallet, phone, and keys from my pockets. The phone's lock screen was a picture of Sophia with the caption, "My Sophia simps never win." I sighed, deleted the photo, and opened the Chase mobile app. The balance showed $1,275.45. Not bad at all. From Ethan's memories, I expected him to be broke. Guess not. It was more than enough for now. Scrolling through the contacts, I found Mr. Hayes and pressed dial. "Ethan," a surprised voice answered. "You're back in the States?" "Mr. Hayes," I said, lowering my voice on purpose. "I just saw Sophia at the hospital." The line went quiet for a few seconds. You know everything?" he finally asked, cautious. "Yeah," I replied, letting my voice crack with fake emotion. "I saw the baby." "Very cute, oh, Ethan?" Mr. Hayes sighed heavily. "Sophia was wrong to handle things like this, but the baby is here now, and you understand I cut him off." "Mr. Hayes, I need to pick up some things from the house. Is now a good time?" Half an hour later, I was standing in front of the Hayes family mansion. A 3-story home with a pool and garden isn't worth 8 figures in Chicago. In the novel, Mr. Hayes had treated Ethan decently as his adopted son. The only problem? Unlike other rich dads in these stories, he hadn't spoiled him or planned to leave him a fortune. Damn it, why are the normal parts of this world abnormal, and the abnormal parts normal? What a messed up universe, Mr. Ethan. The housekeeper, Maria, looked stunned to see me. "Felt homesick," I said with a smile. Slipping past her in the living room, staff members were assembling wedding favors. A gold-embossed invitation on the table read, "Sophia Hayes and Caleb Reed." The date was set for the 18th of next month. Mr. Hayes came down the stairs, his face lighting up. Ethan. I studied him, the man who in my memories had been the kindest to me. Early 50s, graying temples, but his joy seemed genuine. "Mr. Hayes," I greeted politely. Then I noticed his right hand trembling slightly. "Ha! This is interesting." "You're back just in time," he said, guiding me to the sofa and gesturing at the wedding favors. "Sophia is getting married next month. To your friend Caleb Reed." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "They already have the baby. Actually, a little girl." My eyes widened as I perfectly acted like a devoted man whose world just collapsed. "So, Sophia and Caleb." Mr. Hayes smacked his forehead. "You didn't know? I thought Sophia told you." "I get it now," I said with a bitter smile, rising. "Mr. Hayes, I just remembered I have something to take care of for school." "I should go, Ethan," he called after me at the door. "Don't overthink this." "Sophia, she..." "I'm fine," I interrupted, forcing my eyes red. "I wish them the best." Glancing back at the mansion, I caught Mr. Hayes peeking from behind the curtain. The moment he saw me looking, he quickly yanked it shut. "Interesting." I stroked my chin. The old man knows more than he's letting on. In this world of NPCs, he might be the only real SSR character, checking into a nearby hotel. I started digging into the novel's plot and my situation. Ethan Thorne's life was a tragedy from start to finish. Lost his father at 10. Taken in by the Hayes family. Fell for Sophia at 18. Tricked into going abroad at 22. Came back at 23 to find out he'd been played. And died of cancer at 25. Though whether I was really played is debatable. Things are different now. I made a face in the bathroom mirror. The guy staring back was more handsome than I expected. Strong brows, sharp eyes, a straight nose. He just carried this permanently gloomy vibe, the lead in some melodrama. I opened my laptop and logged into my A-Trade account. Turns out Ethan Thorne had a brokerage account with just over $5,000 worth of Hayes Corp. Stock he'd bought 3 years ago. Such a dedicated simp, I muttered, selling it all and applying for a margin account. Shorting my own family's company, the idea was exhilarating. At 8 p.m., deliberately posted on my Instagram story, "Time for a new beginning." The photo was from the airport, but I tagged the location as the Hayes family mansion. Less than 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Caller ID Sophia. I let it ring 7 times before answering. Hello, Ethan. Sophia's voice was syrupy sweet. Why did you stop by the house so suddenly? I put the phone on speaker while slurping cup noodles. Missed you, I guess. There was a beat of silence, then an awkward laugh. You're such a kid. Where are you? Let me take you out to dinner. No need, I said, inhaling noodles. Heard you're getting married. Congrats, who told you that? Mr. Hayes. He also mentioned you had the baby. I made sure my voice cracked, sounding hurt. Sophia, didn't you promise you'd wait for me to come back so we could be together? The line went quiet for a long time before she finally sighed. Ethan, that was just talk. We were kids. There's too much of an age gap. Caleb's only 2 years older than me. I shot back with a cold laugh. He's different. Her voice rose, then quickly softened. I mean, Caleb is very mature. Whatever I cut in. Tomorrow noon. Peninsula Caf. After hanging up, I turned back to my laptop and started digging into Caleb Reed. The original Ethan had some solid hacking skills, a gift that was now mine. It didn't take much to dig up Caleb's dirt. My best friend was even scummier than I thought. Besides embezzling company funds, he was deep in debt to a loan shark in Vegas and desperate for cash. Perfect. And before you ask, would I still do this if Caleb were actually a good guy? What a stupid question. Of course I would. After all, this is all about making money. This is just perfect, I muttered, printing out a forged investment proposal for a mining project. First, I'll deal with Sophia tomorrow. Then it's Caleb's turn. After finishing my noodles, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Memories from this body kept replaying Sophia kissing him when he turned 18, telling him she'd wait for him, whispering, I love you on his 22nd birthday when she was drunk, promising before he left for overseas that she'd always be there. The more I watched these memories play out, the angrier I got. My God, the cringe was unbearable. Damn it. I punched the wall. Was Ethan a complete idiot? How could he not see he was being played? The sting in my knuckles snapped me back. No, I had to make a killing on this to compensate for my psychological damage. I picked up my phone and texted my new broker. At market open tomorrow, Short Hayes Corporation. Start with 50,000 shares, setting the phone down. I stared out the window at the moonlight the next day. I was sitting in a corner booth at Peninsula Caf, slowly stirring my iced Americano. Sunlight outside was blinding, but my mood was excellent. Sophia arrived 15 minutes late, wearing a loose beige dress. Her hair was tied back casually, light makeup barely covering the dark circles under her eyes. She clearly hadn't recovered from childbirth. Her eyes scanned the cafe until they landed on me. Forcing a smile, she walked over. Ethan, have you been waiting long? She asked softly, her tone intimate, as if nothing had changed between us. Not at all, I replied with a slight smile. You don't look so good, Sophia. She instinctively touched her face, her smile tightening. Which has been a little tired lately, I didn't respond. Just sipped my coffee and let the silence hang heavy in the air. She cleared her throat, finally getting to the point. Ethan, about yesterday. What about yesterday? I asked, pretending not to know. You know, she bit her lip. You saw me and Caleb. Oh, you mean the baby? I said, nodding like it had just clicked. Congratulations on becoming a mom. She froze, stunned. She clearly hadn't expected me to stay so calm. The old Ethan would have been re-dyed by now, demanding why she lied. You're not angry? She asked carefully. Angry? I laughed. Why would I be angry? Sophia, you didn't actually think I'm still in love with you, did you? Watching her, I felt a flicker of guilt. She trusted me completely, and here I was, ruining her life. I condemned myself silently for being such a ruthless bastard. After finishing my little self-flagellation, I walked briskly out of the cafe and immediately called my lawyer. Get the lawsuit ready when Hayes Corp stock drops another 10%. Freeze all of Caleb Reed's assets. Business is business, after all. 3 days later, the financial news exploded. Hayes Corp executive accused of embezzlement. Stock plunges 22% in a single day. My brokerage account balance shot past $4 million. That night, Caleb called me, his voice tight with fury. "Ethan, this was you, wasn't it?" I laughed. "Mr. Reed, whatever do you mean?" "Cut the crap," he roared. "Only the people who process those transfers would know the details. Who else could it be?" "Oh," I interrupted calmly. "Then I suggest you report me to the police." There was silence on the other end. Then Caleb's voice softened. "Come on, man. We're friends. Why are you doing this?" "Friends?" I sneered. "Did you really think I didn't know what you were doing with Sophia the second I was out of the country?" Caleb started, but I cut him off. "You have two choices. One, I make sure Mr. Hayes sees your Vegas casino markers and the photos of the model you're keeping in a downtown loft. Or two, you resign, leave the Hayes family, and disappear forever." I could hear his ragged breathing. Finally, he choked out, "You're a bastard." I hung up, opened my laptop, and pulled up all the files I had on him: hotel receipts, evidence of embezzlement, even screenshots of his explicit chats with multiple women. Everything was ready to be blasted to every single wedding guest on the big day. I raised my glass of bourbon to the city skyline. Cheers. On the last day of October, Sophia Hayes and Caleb Reed's wedding went ahead as planned. I stood at the hotel entrance in a perfectly tailored black suit, gold-embossed invitation in hand, watching the guests arrive. The Hayes family had a reputation to uphold. And the wedding was a spectacle, an entire 5-star hotel booked out. The driveway packed with luxury cars, Mr. Thorne. "Your seat is in the family section," a hostess said with a polite smile. I nodded and followed her into the grand ballroom. The place dripped with extravagance. Crystal chandeliers cast a brilliant glow, and a river of flowers flowed from the entrance to the stage. On the massive LED screen, a slideshow of Sophia and Caleb's engagement photos played on loop, their smiles looking sweet and utterly fake. My seat was near the stage. Clearly a deliberate placement by Mr. Hayes, who still seemed to believe I was on good terms with the happy couple. "Ethan," he called out cheerfully when he spotted me. "Come on, we were waiting for you." I joined the table filled with Sophia's parents, Caleb's family, and Hayes Corp executives. Sophia hadn't made her entrance yet. Caleb was by the stage going over details with the MC. His face stiffened when his eyes met mine. "Mr. Hayes," I said with a smile, subtly slipping a small remote into my suit pocket. "What have you been up to?" "We haven't seen you at the house in ages," Mr. Hayes asked, clapping me warmly on the shoulder. "Started a small company." "Been busy," I replied casually, scanning the table. Even Sophia's mother, the socialite who'd always looked down on me, gave me a rare smile. The old bat. I wondered what she was scheming. "I hear you're an entrepreneur now." "So ambitious for a young man," she cooed, her eyes fixed on the Patek Philippe on my wrist. I'd bought it last week for over $200,000, a step up from the watch that Hayes family gifted Caleb. "Just a small venture," I said modestly. Turning back to Mr. Hayes, "How's the company doing, sir?" I heard the stock's been a bit volatile. His smile faltered. "Just a little turbulence. We've almost got it under control." I nodded and let it drop. Thanks to my short selling, Hayes Corp had lost 40% of its value, over $300 million wiped out. No doubt Mr. Hayes had been losing plenty of sleep. Just then, the wedding march began. The lights dimmed, a spotlight hit the entrance, and Sophia appeared draped in a diamond-encrusted gown, walking down the aisle on her father's arm. Her makeup flawless, her face beneath the veil arranged in a perfect smile. She looked regal. The room erupted in applause. I leaned back, watching with cold amusement. The plan was for Mr. Hayes to place her hand in Caleb's, but at that exact moment, the ballroom doors burst open. "Police." "Nobody move." 4 uniformed officers stormed in. The lead detective flashed his badge. "Caleb Reed, you're under arrest for felony embezzlement and securities fraud. Please come with us." The room exploded into chaos. Caleb's face turned ghost white. "You've made a mistake. Here's the warrant." The officer cut him off flatly. "You have the right to remain silent." Pandemonium broke out. Someone stepped on Sophia's gown, and she nearly fell. Mr. Hayes stood frozen, his face a mask of disbelief. Guests gasped in shock or scrambled for their phones to record the chaos. I stayed seated, calmly sipping red wine as Caleb was dragged away, the wedding left in ruins. Sophia collapsed onto the stage, her flawless makeup streaked with tears. Her diamond-studded gown crumpled like a discarded napkin. Mr. Hayes barked into his phone, his face burning with fury, clearly trying to pull strings. Guests whispered, some slipping out as the spectacle spiraled. I stood, straightened my suit, and walked onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said into the abandoned microphone, my voice cutting through the noise. "Sorry for the interruption, but there are a few things you all deserve to know." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to me. Sophia looked up at me, tears streaming. "Ethan, it was you." I gave her a tight smile, then pulled the remote from my pocket and pressed a button. The giant screen flickered. Engagement photos disappeared, replaced by documents. Wire transfers, Vegas casino markers, intimate photos of Caleb with different women, even screenshots of his texts with Sophia, where the two conspired to deceive me. The crowd gasped. "This," I said evenly, "is just the tip of the iceberg." Over the past 3 months, Caleb Reed siphoned more than $4 million from Hayes Corporation. Some went to gambling. The rest funded his mistresses. Sophia lurched to her feet. "You're lying." I clicked again. The screen showed Caleb kissing a young woman outside a hotel, date stamped just 2 weeks earlier. Sophia went pale. "As for you, Sophia," I said, my voice full of cold pity. "You knew what kind of man Caleb was, and you helped cover it up. You even faked a pregnancy to force this marriage." "Shut up," she shrieked, lunging at me before security restrained her. The next file played. An audio recording of my last call with Caleb. His voice admitting the baby wasn't even Sophia Sid, came from a surrogate. A desperate ploy to secure the Hayes fortune. When the clip ended, silence crushed the room. Mr. Hayes staggered, clutching a chair. "Sophia, is this true?" She shook her head, speechless, mascara running in black rivers. I switched off the screen, pocketed a USB drive. "This contains every piece of evidence bank. Records, audio files, financial statements. Any reporters here who want a copy? See me?" With that, I walked out. Behind me, Mr. Hayes roared in anger, Sophia sobbed, and guests whispered frantically. Outside, sunlight bathed the hotel. My phone buzzed nonstop. Hayes Corp stock was in freefall. My broker's voice crackled with excitement. "Mr. Thorne, the stock crashed 50%. Your short cleared over 10 million? Close the position," I ordered. Then, after a